Welcome back to the podcast Under Your Bed, everybody.
Hey, guys.
We are your hosts. You got Taylor sitting over there, and I'm CJ. And today we are reviewing Pilgrim 2019, one of the episodes, if you call it that, from the Hulu series Into the Dark.
Yeah, R.I.P. That series is, I believe, dead at this point, but it did have a good, 2-year run or so, hey.
Yeah, it had some good stuff worked in there. But anyways, Pilgrim is basically about Thanksgiving goes to hell when some over-enthusiastic Pilgrim reenactors join in on a family Thanksgiving feast. Who hasn't experienced Thanksgiving like this before? So.
Yeah, my family is always prone to hiring those Pilgrim reenactors to come on in every year.
Well, we usually just dress up like that and talk about being on the Mayflower or whatever. So.
Oh my God.
Anyways, this was a hell of a ride. But before we get there, maybe we should fill them in on the show if they're first-time listeners.
Yes, I think that is a good idea. So if it is your first time coming to the show, what we do every episode, we'll do a spoiler-free section. We'll kind of tell you cast, crew, watch it, don't watch it, is it scary, is it not scary? And then after a very short break, we come back with a themed cocktail. We'll run through the whole plot. So if you chose to not watch the movie, you'll be up to speed, and then we do a deep dive.
Yes, and we rip it apart as best we can, tell you what we love, what we didn't love, and the rest is up to you.
Yeah.
But I think this is a super interesting film.
Yes, it is. Interesting is a great word.
Not gonna be for everybody, but definitely horror. No two ways about it. So to run through basically some cast and crew here, we got this was directed by Marcus Dunstan. He's coming off
The Collector is his big
yeah.
claim there.
He wrote a bunch of Saw 4, 5, and 6, I think. But then, this was written also inspired by and written with Noah Feinberg and Patrick Melton. I assume they've done some things together.
Yeah, it seems like there's been a lot. And they all each, which is cool to me, they all each have good horror credits, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which is so much fun. We'll have to cover that some Halloween, actually.
Oh, would love to. I don't know if you came across this, but I saw Noah Feinberg was credited with the story. So, of course, in the movie, we see loosely based on a true story. I don't know how they phrase it.
Yeah, that always threw me off because I was like, well, what the hell kind of story would that actually be based on?
Okay, so, all right, it was definitely a stretch, but it is also a great story. So,
okay, give it to me.
So apparently when Noah was a kid, 9 or something, his mom, being this Connecticut Stepford wife, it sounds like, was PTA president, and the school decided to bring Pilgrim reenactors to the school to talk about Thanksgiving and
oh boy,
holiday it is.
Oh boy.
Being PTA president, his mom decides that she's gonna host the actors to just stay at their house for a couple nights, and apparently while they were there, they never broke character.
Oh, I hate that so much. That is so upsetting.
And he said it totally wigged him out, and
of course it did.
Bothered his parents, and they thought maybe this was just getting into character before the day in school when they were acting, but when they came home after, they were still in character, and it just was really unsettling.
No. I don't like that at all. That is horrifically creepy and weird. It's not even method actors. I'm there's such a douche quality to that. So the fact that you have people who aren't even trying to win an Oscar, creeping around your house,
right?
Nope.
We're talking about a high school show. We're not even elementary school show, some little, I don't know.
I hate it. I love that story, but I literally hate that. I totally get why he wrote a horror movie about it then.
Yeah. So what else we got here? I thought the music through this was great, composed by Douglas Pipes.
Whoa,
cinematography was a wild experience. Lynn Moncrief. So there is just a lot to unpack going into this movie. And then, of course, cast
so the
main character.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. So, Rain Edwards is our main protagonist, Cody, who you may recognize from Hellfest. She played, like, the best friend in that. I won't spoiler any of that movie if you haven't seen it. Not the best movie, but kind of fun. So, you know, if you're looking for something easy. As I think we noted last week, we are on a Kerr Smith journey unintentionally that just kind of happened. So obviously it was in Final Destination, Dawson's, My Bloody Valentine. I think some of the fun ones is Patience, and I could have this wrong. I believe the actress is Elise. Oh, that last name. Levesque?
I'm trying to find her name here. Where?
Patience towards the bottom there. I don't know. Levesque? Okay. Wow. Look at who's coming in hot with that. So I think this was prior to, but I could be wrong, but she's actually in Ready or Not. So it was really fun, or this was like the same year. So it was fun to kind of see her in 2 projects in a row. I also was a huge fan of Peter Giles, who plays Ethan, the big Pilgrim guy. He's done a bunch of Mass Effect voices, which is really rad. And he also was just in Unhuman. Anna, who plays the stepmom, Courtney Hengler, I want to say. She's in, I have not seen Cobra Kai, but she's in that and people are loving that. So good for her. Good to be working. And then I think one of the last big ones for me is Tate, who is the little brother. Antonio, I want to say Raul Corbo. Does that look right? Am I saying that? Am I butchering it?
Raul Corbo. Sure.
He was in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He was Nikolaj. So I was really excited to see him in this.
I don't know if I've seen that episode. I just don't.
He's Boyle's kid. He's Boyle's kid that they adopt. So he's in a lot of episodes. Yeah, I thought that was really fun.
It's been a while since I've tuned into some Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
That's a big one.
And he was in Mary Poppins Returns. Was he a central character?
No, like a small role in that one, and I honestly haven't seen that one, so I couldn't speak to that.
Yeah.
But
honestly, I didn't know much of this cast here. You know, Kerr Smith from coming off Final Destination, I guess, is what I remember.
Yeah.
But, outside of that, kind of newbies for me.
I think a lot of them relatively were just getting into bigger projects like right around this time, and I feel like with the Into the Dark series in general, they kind of have like 1 or 2 names you really know, like the Kerr Smith, like of it. But then there's a ton of people that are just kind of coming into horror, you know, newer actors.
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, they all crushed it. So
yes, acting is solid, I think, across the board.
Yeah, 100%. I think Rain Edwards is someone to kind of keep an eye on. Personally, I think she's gonna really sync well with a lot of audiences, and people will kind of tune in to see what she ends up doing. And Ethan crushed it.
I loved him. He was like honestly, acting-wise, my favorite person, I think. He was just so unhinged, but in the best way, and in a way that for a movie that is so ridiculous didn't feel totally out of place in any way. Like his ridiculous was right, like where it should have been.
Yeah. At times it kind of rode the line.
It did,
where it could have tipped, and you know, granted, like towards the end of the movie, like the direction of it all like was very over the top, and so the performances also, you know, went over the top. But you're right, he definitely rode that line the whole movie, and I thought kind of nailed the role. So
I also love Patience. I think she was a lot of fun. She was a lot of fun in Ready or Not as well. So I felt like this was a good year for her. So I'd really like to see her do more horror moving forward, because I think she's actually like, she's got just a face, like a very specific character driven face, but I feel like she can really run with those kinds of roles that are kind of uptight and over the top and do a good job.
Has some like really hidden dark secrets that are just twisting her soul. I love it. It all comes out on screen. Well, this was sort of like a slow burn almost, but in terms of story. But you also have like this hugely climatic ending. And the whole way through, very stylistic choices with camera and editing.
God, yeah.
That's
and
really
music
like
even.
piquing your interest. And music for sure. So whole sound design was really kind of pushing the envelope. And so even if the story doesn't get you, or the ending might feel over the top, like there's still plenty of merit in terms of creative style and capability from the whole crew and cast to pique your interest and keep you watching. So I'm curious kind of where your big thoughts are overall in this movie.
It's it's so weird, and I have to start this by saying, like, as somebody who was watching Into the Dark, like, as it was going, because they were pretty much coming out with an episode every holiday that was coming up. Every single one. So that was kind of fun that they did.
Yeah.
They covered so many beyond just your big ones. It was a series that was so hit and miss, and often more miss than hit. And even when it did hit, not so good. So when this one came out, even though I think if you just watch this movie on its own, you might be like, what the fuck are you talking about? But I actually thought this was kind of top tier of what they ended up putting out for their whole run. Maybe not the best one, but definitely towards the top for me of the ones I enjoyed. That said, I can't tell, genuinely, I can't tell if I'm like, is this movie a mess, or do I like how many risks they took and they were willing to like experiment with so many bizarre, like you said, camera choices, editing choices, music choices. And when they hit though, well, they hit super well. But I feel like at times it can feel a little jarring stylistically. I guess, what are your big notes for
I would say, as a filmmaker, I've been deeply in love with this new trend of like disparate series on Netflix and Hulu. Like Love, Death and Robots comes to mind, Black Mirror comes to mind, and of course
the
Into the Dark series like this. Yeah, where they're not connected, they're all standalone films, and it just opens up the floodgates for creative expression in ways that I haven't seen in other, outside of maybe film festivals. It's almost like film festival brought to series, right?
Yeah,
so
totally.
I love that, and I think Pilgrim takes full advantage of that in the sense of like just sending it, just going for it.
Yeah, there's no hesitation in what they're doing.
Yeah, there were some very strong like camera and editing choices that I felt like it was like a very youthful choice, like a young filmmaker, and didn't necessarily like probably largely distracted from story at times.
Agree, yeah.
But at a lot of times really, really worked in terms of putting you into someone's point of view, or creating feelings of unease or building suspense. So stylistically, it was a fun experiment in ways, and it did hit a lot. It worked, but sometimes just kind of felt a little like unnecessary.
Oh, I totally agree, especially with the camera work. And again, like when it does work though, it's almost a little frustrating because when it works really well, you're like, why didn't you keep with this idea? Yeah. This looks great. This fits the vibe that you're going for. And then other times it does feel like, hey, we think this will be cool, let's throw it in. But again, it's a distraction versus being like, this is really integrated and working with the film. It sometimes works against it. But I do, oh, go ahead.
It probably would have been a good choice to kind of ease us into it. Like start a little more traditional and then build into these like wild, or at least like use them more sparingly early on.
Totally agree.
That probably could have been a better choice. But I still love the guts and appreciate it.
Literally and figuratively in this movie.
Yeah, well, there you go. So I thought the effects were largely overall fantastic.
Yes, totally agree.
In the end, a couple times I was like, dang, that was like wanting. But there's some great kills, some great gore. lots of fun stuff happening.
Effects were solid. It definitely, as we've said many, many times, is one of those situations where it appears that much of it is practically done. And so it looks good. Like, it obviously looks good because of that. I'm trying to even think if there is like a lot of CGI or anything I noticed, and it's not coming to the forefront. So I would say if they used it, it was pretty sparingly.
Yeah, one of those movies where, you know, when CGI is used well, you don't know it's there. And I couldn't call attention to any like specific CGI. So, so if it was used very well. I assume it was used in some ways at some points, clearly for like blood and stuff at times. But
but just, I mean, a lot of it seems like, because even there's like some certain scenes where like shacks are built or these weird medieval type torture stuff is built. And I think it's all practical because it all seems to function. Like they utilize it. So I'm assuming that's like practically built.
Yeah. And some great like underwater scenes is pretty fun.
Yeah, really fun.
So, you know, also really like the idea of having, you know, a Thanksgiving horror film. I can't recall many Thanksgiving themed horror films. Like,
not a ton. I mean, there's one I feel so mad at myself. I didn't think of this ahead of time. Well, actually, there's two. I was like, I really messed that up. But I'm glad we went with Pilgrim because I think it's a fun movie. But Blood Rage, we have to cover at some point. It's not cranberry sauce is the big tagline, and that movie is truly. So this is obviously coming out on Thanksgiving. If you're looking for like a Thanksgiving marathon, obviously we recommend Pilgrim as like something fun if you get through this episode and agree with us on it. But Blood Rage is a fun one. But then honestly, all we really have is like Thanksgiving, which is, is it so bad it's good, or is it just so bad it's bad? I don't know. But that's kind of it. I mean, there's a ton. I feel like we're getting more of these, which is really fun. Like horror's really making its way into all these holidays. But I agree, it's pretty sparse, especially with Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Well, to get back to the film, where's your like overall ratings landing here?
Okay, so if starting with Monsters Under Your Bed, I mean, let's be honest, it's not a scary movie. It's definitely a horror movie. There's no question there, but it's not one of those movies that's going to leave you thinking about it the day. I mean, you might be thinking about aspects of it, but not about the scariness the next day. So I think we're scared because there's just not. I like it, but I don't think it's enough to push it to a 2. So I'm going to give it a 1 on scares. What are you giving it for Monsters Under the Bed?
That's funny. I was sort of on the fence between 2 and 3.
No, really?
Yeah, and again, for everyone, this is out of 4 Monsters Under Your Bed. Yes. How scary is it? And I'm still on the fence. For me, it's kind of like the torture porn, if you will. Man, that just irks me, and I know that for a lot of audiences is hard to sit and watch people sort of being tortured. But as torture scenes go,
I see what you mean.
You know, there's like it's not extremely gory and
it's not graphic to a huge degree.
Yeah, and largely the movie overall, until like a couple scenes at the very end, is not that gory.
No.
There's just like some really uncomfortable moments. Yeah. So, and then, you know, it wasn't largely suspenseful. And then when it did get intense, there was like comedic relief throughout.
Yes.
Which I also thought was a really interesting choice. We'll have to dive into like, how does comedy fit into this horror piece? So
I do get though what you're saying with especially like obviously won't go into the detail of it, but about the idea of a family kind of held hostage in their home. I do agree with you. That concept is creepy, and there are parts of that do feel pretty tense and a little like stressy, but I wouldn't call it like scary, but definitely like a bit stressful. So you're right. I'm going to keep my rating, but I do agree with you that actually probably would bump it up for a lot of people.
Yeah. So I guess I'll cop out here and say 2.5.
Fair.
But overall, I am torn on my rating. I am going to give it a 3 out of 4 overall because while I don't think the style choices always hit, I felt like there was a good story. It didn't have huge character arcs and huge character development. I was left a little wanting, but I did think that while the style choices were bold and outside the box, that they were largely consistent and well thought out and executed.
You know, for that
3,
exact,
you get my bonus today.
For that exact reason, I'm gonna give it a 2 for that exact reason of like it took some big swings and like we said doesn't always hit when it did, but when it does it really well. It's a fun idea. I am a bit of a sucker for a horror holiday themed movie, especially with a cast that's it's a pretty solid cast, pretty solid effects,
solid acting.
Honestly, I think if some stuff had just been reined in a bit and they had fleshed out other aspects, I really think this actually could have been like a really good movie. But there's just some stuff that limits it. So for me, I cannot talk. La.
We'll get to the cocktail next, but yeah.
Oof, it's already hitting hard. I gotta tell you. But I think for that. The limitations keep it at 2 for me, but I want to say I have fun watching this. I had fun rewatching this, so you know, it's a good watch, one that I would still recommend, especially like I said, if you're somebody who's looking for horror on a holiday. I think this is a fun one to do.
Yeah, definitely. Don't throw this on with people that get squirmish with like torture scenes, or are easily like grossed out or something, because the end does get a little
I love that. Nasty, I'm excited to talk about
that. but yeah, I think this is very fun. Throw it on late at night, with your significant other or something, and have a good time.
Oh yeah, 100%. Enjoy that. Enjoy your Thanksgiving with Pilgrim.
Hell yeah. All right, y'all. We're going to wrap up this spoiler-free section for you when we will be right back with our themed cocktail and deep dive critique.
Yes.
Welcome to the podcast Under Your Bed. There'll be drinks, critique, and perhaps a few murders. You're all invited, but once the podcast has begun, there's no way out. The ghosts are waiting, so won't you join me for the podcast Under Your Bed?
Probably should have closed my window before that one, scare the neighbors a little.
I cannot have an open window because despite the fact that it is November still, I'm looking outside at a winter wonderland personally. So cool.
Oh, goodness.
Love it. So excited about that.
It's a bit chilly here in Austin, but not cold enough to close the windows. Hey, no, we had a cold front. It was 38 degrees yesterday. I'm not joking about this. It got down there. I don't know how or why.
Until you deliver feet of snow. And we don't even have snow tires because, of course, we were idiots. And we're like, it's November. It's been warm. We won't worry about it. And then it's like we got just dumped on with lake effect snow. So it's been rough.
Dang.
Yeah.
Well,
rough.
It's feeling very fallish here. Very appropriate for this movie.
The drink is festive, that's for sure.
I was going to say before we get there, we got a delicious cocktail for y'all today. And this is delicious and yummy and probably something that would be really fun to pull out for your Friendsgiving or Thanksgiving. And this is, what is this? This is the Pumpkin Pie Martini by Delish. Thank you once again.
Yes.
And it's basically like, got some pumpkin spice action in there, some... like a bunch of vodka.
A lot more vodka than you would have anticipated, yes.
A little maple syrup is a nice touch, too. I topped it with some cinnamon. But it is, it's a bit potent. So you actually found the secret sauce here. And that was, splashing the coffee in there, I think was a very good choice.
Yeah, so if you're following the specific recipe that they give, so I did it the way they recommended the first time, and I took a sip and I was like, whoa, because it was just vodka taste, and then you get the pumpkin puree and the maple syrup, and you get all the sweetness after. So it's a little harsh, I think, as a cocktail. So we both added a splash of coffee. I put a little less vodka in for the second, which is something you never hear me say on this podcast, but it was necessary for this drink, let me tell you. But yeah, it makes it really, really nice with just a hint of coffee.
It became a pumpkin spice latte that's less basic.
And I am a basic for pumpkin spice lattes, so I'm fine with it. Like, that doesn't bother me.
Hey, own it.
I'll go with it.
Power to you. Fair enough. You can't deny that's pumpkin spice latte. Damn it.
You can't. It's still the season, despite the fact there's snow outside for me. It is still the fall season in my heart and mind. And yes, this is a great fall drink for sure. I would just tailor it to your kind of taste. Otherwise, you're going to get a very vodka heavy cocktail.
So before you are in the hot seat and give us the spoiler plot summary, I got to know what food you're going to pair this with over Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving episode. I want to know what you are feasting on at the table. Let's hear it.
Oh, man. Okay, so we definitely have... And we do the Midwestern approach, so I'm really interested to hear how yours goes. So we're doing, obviously...
Is it super traditional?
Yeah, but it is for the Midwest. So it's obviously the basics that everybody has. So we obviously do turkey, cranberry sauce, stuffing, and gravy. That's all and potatoes. Those are all the basics. But then the Midwest approach is to put cheese and bake everything. So we're doing a cheesy broccoli casserole, the green bean casserole with the French onion.
With bacon.
The French onion, what is the do you guys have that stuff that it's stuff. The crunchy stuff? Yeah.
I always just have bags of it that I just snack on in the day. It's good stuff.
I love it. So yeah, you gotta Midwest it by adding a bunch of cheese and baking it into a casserole of some kind. And that's what we do with green beans and broccoli. It's here's your vegetables. Well, let's dump a load of cheese on it and throw it in the oven. What is the Texas Thanksgiving? Any differences?
So it's largely classic, but I did tex it up a bit down here. We got the basically that list, what you're saying, but we're instead of just a basic corn, we're doing a creamed corn, which is Texas classic, and then
I don't think we
instead of traditional stuffing, we're doing a green chili cornbread stuffing. Stoked on that.
That sounds really good, actually. Choice. That sounds such a southern compared to northern thing, though. I can't imagine that, but it sounds good.
Sure. I mean, and then outside, and then a little bourbon sweet potato action. That's always a good
we're
one.
Marshmallow sweet potato action. Are you marshmallow?
No, we got the marshmallows on
but
top.
You got bourbon in there.
Get that nice. Yeah. So looking forward to it. I'm, all ready to binge the whole week.
I feel you. I love having school off for the week is really nice. My master's program, aside from one class, is giving me a break, so I'm very happy about that. The sweet potatoes, though, I have to say, introducing that to when I was living in China and I hosted Thanksgiving dinner and trying to get them to understand the concept of sweet potatoes with marshmallows and seeing the look on their faces, because they were primarily from the UK, they were horrified. However, they ate it and they loved it. So I just want to throw that out.
Yeah. I love it. That is good fantastic. All right, well, you're in the hot seat today. Okay. Let's hear it. Walk us through this plot summary.
Yeah, and after one of those, I'm going to be a little mush mouth on that. That is a very intense drink, people. So drink with caution. All right. So, Pilgrim, we open on an uncomfortable family dinner where Cody finds out her stepmother Anna has booked their family for a quote unquote Thanksgiving experience where actors will come. Yeah, it's so creepy. Where actors would like come into their home and help them experience the miracle of getting back to basics, because everybody loves that kind of cooking and not having like 18 ovens. But okay, sure. We then get an idea of why Anna is so hell-bent on providing this like perfect Instagram-worthy experience, and it's because she's a part of a very judgmental group of ladies who lunch. They're kind of dicks. So in the middle of a brunch event, the reenactors, I'm saying with loose quotations because we're gonna have to get into that, Ethan and Patience show up, and it's like days before they're supposed to be there, in full garb, using Pilgrim etiquette, and they state that they're there to start the preparations. Ethan is meant for Cody's family, and Patience is meant for Cody's boyfriend, Finn, for him and his mother. It's a gift from Anna, which is not met with great enthusiasm, as I don't think I'd want.
Maybe stepping over some boundaries there.
100, and it's very much like a charity case situation. It's not a good look.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I really want someone invading my house. You know, thank you so much. Ethan fully commits to this Pilgrim act, which definitely annoys Cody. He does attempt to kind of connect with her by discussing that he's lost his family and that he knows Cody's mother left her and her father, Shane, on a Thanksgiving when she was just a little kid. But this only kind of heightens her suspicions and just kind of creeps her out. Patience and Ethan make themselves at home in their respective placements by being super judgmental, teaching weird Pilgrim lessons and tailoring the house to a more Pilgrim-friendly aesthetic. So using candles instead of lights and taking away all phones, computer, and internet, which, I mean, that's never gone wrong in a horror story ever, right? Patience does not seem to have the same affection as Ethan has for his family that he's staying with, because when Finn returns home, he finds that his mother is dead, poisoned by Patience, and then Finn is attacked by an unknown assailant. Patience then arrives at Cody's home and says that Finn's mom went on some kind of bender and took Finn with her, meaning Patience and more Pilgrims will be staying at the home.
She was loose cannon.
Yeah, and the news sends Cody's to Finn's house, and the new arrivals and just general attitudes of these Pilgrims begin to also creep Anna out in a big way. Unsurprisingly, Cody finds that Finn is dead, and when she runs back home, she finds that the Pilgrims have overtaken her household and put her parents in a stockade to be tortured. Cody does manage to unlock the two, and the group works together to kick the ever-loving shit out of one of the Pilgrims, eventually killing him. Their relief is short-lived, though, as they are quickly overpowered by the big group. Shane is murdered by Patience, and Cody is subjected to some serious witch trial-era torture shit until she expresses thanks and gratitude. Anna and Cody are then forced to participate in meal preparation, and while Ethan judges Anna's parenting, Cody finds an opportunity to stab Patience in the head, creating which was so, everything about that was so badass, especially Patience pulling the screwdriver out. Pretty amazing.
Yes.
But this doesn't buy her a lot of time. Unfortunately, she's kind of only able to find Tate and manages to re-hide him again. Which is okay, before she gets captured. So they are placed at the dinner table, and at dinner, Anna, and Cody find out they're being served Shane. Shane is the turkey replacement for the meal. That's
yummy.
That's traumatic. The Pilgrims dig in, but shortly after they start vomiting, and then it's revealed that while Cody was doing the meal preparation, she had spiked the meal with these poison cherries that Ethan had mentioned not eating previously.
Noise. This
ends up killing pretty much all of the Pilgrims, except for, of course, Ethan and Patience, who are quick enough to catch on and purge the cherries out of their systems in the most epic vomiting sequence I've ever watched. Tate then finds Cody and Anna, and then we get a final Pilgrim fight. Anna manages to kill. It's so awesome. Anna kills Patience with a brutal neck stab, and Cody kills Ethan with the chop of an axe. And happy Thanksgiving!
Who's ready for pie?
Right? Some Shane turkey leg.
That was a wild ride. You know,
it really is.
This movie sort of reminded me of Mother. You know, like kind of slow burn, like weird characters that keep coming into the house, and then there's like wild climactic chaos. And, you know, very stylistic as well. Mother probably better executed.
Oh, well, it's Aronofsky. I mean, come on. It's Aronofsky.
We got a seasoned veteran to go down in history versus a fun, bold, risk-taking
crew there.
Younger crew, But still, lots to love. I think, you know, per usual... Story. What's working? What's lacking? What did you like?
So I like, especially with this story, I feel like it's a fun story because there's some hints of like what could be going on. Cody makes a wish with the wishbone. So you're wondering if it's some ramification of that. But also Ethan states some stuff that you wonder like what the backstory is there or why these people are there. Like, because he alludes to at a couple different points. He says like that he lost his family, and then when he has that kind of lesson with Tate, he's like, see, I didn't have to take everything away from this family. And you're like, well, what the fuck is going on here? Like, are we in some like purgatory shit or like what's going on? But then he also brings up a misfact about pilgrims that Cody corrects him on. So then there's this also like kind of, well, are these people just like weird actors?
Trout don't live in salt water.
Yeah, so it's just funny because I think like that's a fun part where I think typically when with these character motivations or like ideas, you're like, I need it fleshed out and I want to know what's going on. But this movie is so bizarre that I kind of like that there's all these different, it could have been the wish thing. It could be that these are just overly enthusiastic weirdos. It could be that they're in some weird purgatory, the Pilgrim people. Like, I don't know what the story is with that, but I kind of like that I don't need an answer for that. I mean, what did you think about that?
I agree with that. I also love that, as like a reenactor, he's missing certain facts, doesn't always get it right. He like is suspending his disbelief the whole time he's in their house with the technology and the lights and the modern day references, right? Where he's staying in character and disregarding that stuff.
Do you think he's an actor though, or do you think he's a pilgrim?
I think you kind of have to... if I were to lean one direction, like instead of this like weird spirit pilgrim that came back to like haunt them or something because of the wishbone, I think they have to lean that direction because of the reference and because he says things like, you don't appreciate like what you have. You're spending all this time on your phone and your screen, you know, so he's like aware of the modern day, you know, so does he have some sort of like psychological trauma that's driving him? Maybe. But agreed. Like answers that don't need to be answered, or questions that don't need to be answered, and just really fun to just kind of explore along the way. But where I was wanting was maybe a little more character arc and drive behind the family, right? Cody, particularly. And the mom, but I mean, they were there, right? I guess you would say like, you know, I don't know if Cody had like a, like any sort of goal or mission early on, you know, eventually it just became to survive. Maybe to feel like she was like truly a part of her family, right? And not the like outsider at the table, I guess you could argue. And then obviously mom being sort of like wanting some sort of like attention through her like HOA meetings and being the popular girl on the block or whatever. You know, that's definitely driving her. And then like he's kind of getting that smack like, hey, look at what's in front of you, the family. But so I don't know if it was too subtle or if they were just a little flat. So
I feel like they set up some of those characters really well. Like I think the thing I like about Anna in particular is she is not the evil stepmom, even from the beginning. Like, yes, they're not getting along, but she even says, like, it's very early on, she even says, like, I don't want Cody to feel like I'm responsible for her mom leaving. And so there's an empathy already there, which I think is really good. Yeah. And then I agree, though, there's no big come to Jesus. They've made this moment where it's like now they're solidified. They just kind of have to be solidified, which maybe isn't the worst thing because it's not like an outrageous emotional moment that would feel out of place. Then it doesn't exist, which is kind of nice. It's a little bit more I'd say oddly more natural for the situation that's occurring, that you just be like, yeah, we have each other's backs right now because we've got this common enemy and, you know, we don't have to have a big moment about it. We can just have it happen. But I like that. And I actually really like that Cody and Tate are so close and there's no animosity, even though he's like a half brother. Technically, there's no like, oh, you're my evil stepmom's kid and I don't like you. Like, it's like they're super tight. And so I think it's fun because they set up those family dynamics that it's not as dysfunctional as we typically see in these kinds of movies. And that's kind of a nice thing. But I agree, it could be so subtle that sometimes it doesn't feel like it's fleshed out all the way. Yeah. And I don't know if that's like a bad thing, but maybe we need a little more of like some guidance or something. Or, you know, it just felt like I didn't see like this like nice big arc in terms of like character develop or no, because Cody is pretty like I'd say actually her character doesn't have much growth at all, despite the fact that they kind of set it up that she has to get over this trauma of her mom leaving when she was a kid. That doesn't actually play that much of a factor in the movie and moving forward. And she's kind of from the get like, these guys are creepy and weird, and she's right, and they are creepy and weird, and then, you know, and then they all get murdered. So, yeah, there isn't a lot of change, I guess, we're not seeing a big arc in development.
I do like that the mom, like, pretty quickly realizes how... Yeah,
quicker than the husband.
Position... Yeah, kind of like, you know, maybe I did fuck up on this. And like, you know, her kind of mama bear instincts start kicking in. And so
for
I
Cody
appreciated
too.
That.
Yeah.
You know, I like the characters overall were very like authentic feeling. Very like just modern day family without being like stereotyped, simplistic characters. And, you know, the only time I felt like character choices were way off were like, okay, why didn't Cody immediately call the cops after finding the dead body? Like, okay, she didn't have her phone, but there's neighbors all over. Come on, yo. And then it felt like a little outside of her choices. And then again, when like the mom and dad escape from their like, you know, little
stockade
whatever
thing,
it goes. You know, like why didn't they immediately? I know the dad brings it up, but like still, come on, yo, one of you get out of here, daughter. You're going next door. You're getting the neighbors. We're gonna go try to get the kid. You know.
I agree. It's weird. I get that they try to sell it by being like, well, Tate's in the house and he's hiding and we're worried about him. And I agree. Like that's I guess a good enough motivation. But it's funny that you say that. I didn't even think about the fact that Cody could have 100% not gone back to her house and called the cops. And I don't know why, because I think things were just starting to pick up. I didn't even think about it. But you're right. That makes little to no sense, to be honest, that you wouldn't. I mean, your boyfriend is murdered. His mom is murdered. It's very obvious. It's not an accident of any kind. I never thought about that.
It probably could have been as simple as like putting another pilgrim in the house to like scare her away and run back. You know, some sort of like motivation to like drive her back to her parents or something. Just something to like bring her back to the house.
Yeah.
Imminent danger where she wouldn't go to a neighbor's, I guess. But
yeah, because I feel like
honestly small.
It is small, but it's a big. You're right. That's a pretty big one. That's a bit confusing, but it's just funny. I don't know why I didn't think about that. It's so obvious, though. Aside from that flaw, what did you think about? Obviously, Patience and Ethan are big pilgrims, but what did you think about that whole group? And actually, we should spend a minute talking about Patience and Ethan because they're so great.
Oh, totally. First of all, probably the performances that stood out the most, I guess because they're such interesting characters. And, like we said in the spoiler-free section, I don't know if they ever quite crossed the line of getting cheesy. Definitely a role that would have been so easy early on to cross.
Yes, yes.
The moment that pops out to me especially is when Ethan crushes the crow, kills the crow, and has what I'm referring to as a crowgasm. He's just kind of I don't know what that was. But
oh my God.
It was like a moment that was very unhinged. And I was like, is this crossing the line? But it felt like it could have it felt realistic enough for somebody that has clearly deeply unsettling past. So
oh my God.
Yeah, your thoughts?
Yeah, Ethan's I think honestly his performance is so good to me because there are moments, I mean, you're quickly brought back to the reality of being like, this guy is a weirdo, but there's moments where you almost have some empathy for him, or you really want to know what the backstory is and what happened to him. And that's good acting on his part. When he's talking to Cody and talking about how he lost his family, there's a very human look in his eyes, and that was really well done. That's a very solid grounding moment, especially for some of his bigger stuff that comes after. And when he's trying to teach Tate, it feels like he's genuinely trying to connect with this person and not
Right.
I think that's the fun part about these characters is Patience is a little bit more one-dimensional, but it's so much fun to have that unhinged element. But you can't have two of those people running around. I like that he's a little bit more grounded. There's a little bit more something going on, but I loved her unhinged. It's wild that she gets stabbed in the head and pulls it out like a goddamn champ. I love that. Right. And when he's like, Patience, evacuate thyself. And she's like, yep, got it. I loved that. It was so much fun to watch.
It's great that while shit's going to hell, they're still in Pilgrim character mode, they don't break. Even
but they might
dying.
be Pilgrims. That's the thing. They might be. We don't know. We don't know.
Yeah, it's true. There's enough ambiguity to really not seal the deal there. You were kind of wondering, will they break character? Are they going to break character? And it is great that they never do. So you truly don't receive that answer. Okay, she pulls the pickaxe, whatever ice axe thing, out of her fucking head. That thing was a foot long. Come on.
It was
that bitch is dead. No. It was at least 6 inches. That thing was enormous.
You know what? I had so much fun. Didn't even care.
To the head.
Yeah.
She survived the poisoning.
But not the next stab.
Don't die.
Not the next stab. That got her. Yeah.
How
much fun though? So much
moment, fun. Knife through hand on window, push out door. Push out window.
Ow,
Fabulous.
Yes, ouch.
That was good work right there. That's fun.
Oh, that was a really good. That was a really good effect. Again, all the effects wise, very solid on all the effects that were done. That was a particularly cringy, oh my God, or when Anna's getting the branding done, it is pretty cringy as well. That one was pretty nasty. I thought the one that was kind of interesting because it's not obviously gory was Cody being subjected to, again, it's I swear it's a rich trial,
waterboarding,
type thing they used to do. I thought that one was pretty tense, actually. I it's very stressful that you get dunked under as the audience with Cody, and you're getting that kind of stress of it, you know?
Yeah. So, you know, I would call that a snorri cam. Like, typically a snorri cam's like a body mounted camera. So the camera's like, it creates this like forced perspective of the person. And now you're mounting the snorri cam to the whole rig, which is a really fun choice. And it goes underwater. So you really are like put into their perspective and shoved underwater with them. That was a moment where I felt like, all right, damn, if you're underwater that long, like, there would be more like gagging and gurgling and like and I thought that could have been a little high end in the acting.
On the acting front, yeah.
Small note, but the camera work there was really fun, and that was the moment where my wife had to like tune out. She was like, "Can't watch, can't listen. This is too like tortured."
Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought this was gonna be an easy one for her. I was like, she's not gonna have any trouble ever watch it.
No, but I mean, it was fun, and you know, she stuck through it. She enjoyed the movie overall, honestly. You know, and then another moment I loved was when Ethan gets branded at the end. I think he had one of the best screams I've heard in any horror film when he gets branded. Just that, like, just really screaming, and the reality of like what he's inflicting on other people kind of smacks him in the face.
He's still
awesome
self-righteous all the way into the end, but I agree, he's so self-righteous even to the end, being like, isn't this what you wish for? It's like, you're such a dick. But again, he's so personable, like, he's so much fun, where if there was like an Ethan and Patience movie, I would watch it. Like, I would 100% watch that. Can we get a prequel? I know the TV show is dead, but can we get a prequel? I'd watch that and get some backstory for the two of them.
That'd be fun to explore.
I would be so down.
Totally think so.
I mean, so what did you think of Shane Turkey? What was that? What did you think of that?
All right. Well, it was a moment where it was not like a surprising reveal.
No.
You know, because they like made this big show of like walking in. You know, so I would have liked maybe if the platters were already on the table, so they sort of just blend into the like decor of the moment, and then it's just like, surprise, motherfucker. But that was when the movie really took the turn towards like perhaps jumping the shark and going like over the top. I've seen this so many times in bad horror films of like one of these dinner feast scenes where you have like the laughing around the table and like, you know, bugs and creepy crawlies on the table and these like canted like close-up camera shots of people laughing. It's just, I was so bummed that they went there in this movie. It is a Thanksgiving feast, so at some point you have to be at the table and you have to have this scene, but I feel like it could have been done without some of these like horror stereotypes I've seen in shitty movies, because this movie was so much better than that moment.
It's the Texas Chainsaw of it, though. I mean, this is the problem. So Tobe Hooper does it, and it's kind of flawless the first time it's done. Every time it's been replicated since, it never feels as good as that first one. Yeah. Whether it's the Texas Chainsaw movies or other people, like you said, trying to do kind of accomplish the same feel. I have yet to see somebody accomplish that level in a horror film. I think the only thing I can even think of close to that is Inglourious Bastards, that dinner scene. And what I like about that is it's not a torture scene, but the tension is so fucking good in that scene where he's offering her the dessert and you think like he knows who she is. And it's so tense. It's so good. But like, I've not seen that replicated in horror.
Such a different scene.
But that's what I'm saying. That's the closest thing I can think of being stressed out around a dinner situation. And I've not seen it done well again in a horror movie since that. I'm sure there's a big one I'm forgetting, but just at this moment, my recall can't think of anything. However, despite that, I agree. It's pretty hokey. The pan-ins on the people laughing are pretty hokey. Again, we've already seen this. We've seen it done better. We don't need to rehash this scene. I wish people would stop, but they just keep doing it. It just keeps happening. But what I did like, I thought that gospel song was the weirdest choice ever. And somehow, though, I don't know why, it kind of weirdly worked for what was going on. It should not have worked. It was a bizarre choice. I think the first or second time I watched this movie, I was like, I don't know if I hate or like that. I think I'm coming to the like side, especially when we pivot and we get that epic vomiting and you get that crazy, again, I'm just apparently on a Tarantino thing here, but it's kind of that Kill Bill siren type sound at the beginning. And then it's this like synthy, crazy, it's this crazy synth song to people projectile vomiting. And that pivot, I loved that pivot for me. I don't know if that was something you like, but I was like, this is so weird. I'm into it.
So agree with the music. I immediately liked the choice, and it felt like they sort of tried to ease you into it a little bit by introducing some of these gospel like notes and tones, like right before that moment. And it was just fun, like completely unhinged. And then also with the effects, like the blood vomiting at moments was great, and then at times it was like, all right, this is the classic like cheap, I got a hose on the other side of the mouth, and it's just like blasting the fuck out.
I didn't even hate that though. I'm gonna be honest. I thought I was already there. The movie had set up to be so fucking weird at that point with the camera work that when the projectile vomiting started, I was like, yeah, that feels about right. Like where we've been going with this movie. Yeah,
for sure. And I mean, and I guess you could get away with it also because they're introducing like bizarre moments of comedy, right? Like the line with like, did we just murder as a family?
And I love that.
The son giving the thumbs up, like, you did it, Mom. We murdered that bitch. Like, but also in that scene when what's the kid Patience is like vomiting. It was actually like probably the most suspenseful moment with the child hiding and like she's vomiting outside. It was way intense and suspenseful, and probably the best use of split screen I've ever seen.
I totally agree. Totally agree.
Her looking for him hiding, and then that like wild climatic moment of her like just projectiling all over him was super
like above the
see.
Counter and seeing the like blood kind of seeping down. Through. Yeah, that was really cool. I think the hard part especially with Tate's character towards the end is that he's like hidden. He comes out. He hides back again. There's a lot of this back and forth. Cody gets out. She gets taken. She gets out. She gets taken again. It's like it's a little too. The pacing's a little off for me with that, where I think like you highlighted on again like a high point, and where those music cues are really fun are a high point. And if they had wrote out those kind of ideas a bit more as opposed to slapping on like different ideas, I feel like it could have been so much more cohesive and it would have flowed so much better. So it's kind of disappointing to see like where it goes so well and be like, why didn't we stay with that? Like that was working. Why didn't we keep that going?
Yeah, I hear ya. It was like this stylistically overall there was a lot of that like they're very much experimenting.
Yes.
And the cinematography and the editing had a lot of great things going on, which I definitely want to talk about. But
yes, we're going to have to do that.
It just, sort of like started off, maybe it's just because it started off so strong. I'm sitting there trying to like understand like what's the motivation for like this camera work right now? What's the motivation for this like editing choice right now? And I didn't always have an answer. And so I was left like kind of with questions instead of like following the story.
Yeah, I totally agree. With especially like, let's get into that part because I think it's such a big part of it, the camera work. There were, for me, a lot of questions as to why was that decision made? Like you said, the split screen is one where that was a very cool effect that worked really well. Again, when Cody is being drowned, that's a fun camera work on that scene. But there's a ton of scenes where there's just some choices made where I couldn't figure out what they thought they were adding by doing it. And I think you'll be able to probably clarify like how that was done or why that was done maybe better than I can. But for like a novice like myself, I was just sitting there going like, that was a choice. Like, I don't know why you made that choice, but it was a choice. So I guess from the cinematographer perspective, what did you think about a lot of the choices that were made?
Well, first I thought it was just fun and bold. Early, I liked. I mean, they're just like really going wide. They're like we're getting bulging wide angle lenses, curved. You know, all the lines are getting distorted and curved on the edges, and then just pumping the shot full of flares. And to me, it was originally sort of kind of building the surrealism or the fakeness of this like Stepford Wives world where they're like trying to put on the show of a perfect little family and we're going to have this perfect Thanksgiving dinner.
Oh yeah.
You know, and almost the like, you know, I guess the disillusionment of the mother, but then also the like out of place, I don't know how you would say this, the feeling of being out of place that the daughter's experiencing Cody, right?
Yes, yeah.
And then a lot of it, I swear, was just stuck in there for fun. Like,
yes, you know, that's moments, how it felt. That's how it felt. Like
when Shane is killed with the axe, it's like cut to red. We didn't see that anywhere else in the movie, other than like, you know, the title screen behind me here. And like what other moments? Like, you know, there are some like zooms and like things that were just like, we're just doing this because it's fun. And
yeah, that kitchen one not? Too was one where it was like Cody was under and there was like a forefront background weird juxtaposition going on with the camera where I get so like I get it. But there was just times where compared to like whatever the shot used before, the shot used after, it feels jarring. Here's where it feels jarring for me. We don't see a lot of these shots replicated a second time. That's where it feels off to me because I feel like if you're using a style or even they do the Edgar right, like picking up the weapons, it's like, that's fine, but we didn't see that anywhere else. So it feels really weird to have these moments come in and it's fun, but it feels a bit jarring.
Yeah, 100% agree. You know, and it's funny you mentioned Tarantino earlier because in this film they were using some of the like, I don't know if there's a term for it, but superimposition with foreground being in focus and background also being in focus with two superimposed shots, which is something I've seen in Reservoir Dogs and a couple other Tarantino movies. And I think as early back as like Citizen Kane was doing this.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
And it comes out of Citizen Kane because the idea, the classic, you know, filming is everything needs to be in focus. You try to get everything in focus, pump it with light, you know, let's see the whole scene. You know, but it just didn't like with the like extreme shallowness of some of the early scenes in the depth of field, then you're cutting to these like moments where you have this like huge depth of field. All of a sudden it was like jarring and maybe it's intentional, but I was struggling to understand like the motivation behind it.
Oh, totally. I love that you brought up Citizen Kane for that exact reason, though. That was a movie where they were trying out so many different things and just kind of throwing it at the wall and being like, what's going to stick? But the difference is every shot works and it feels cohesive, even though they're trying out all these different camera techniques. It was like wild what they were accomplishing and doing. But again, it feels like appropriate where there's a lot of the shots in here where you're like, I love that you made this choice or you wanted to do something different or you're experimenting, obviously, but it doesn't always work with the scene that you've attached it to. And it's kind of confusing sometimes.
Yeah. You know, moments that I loved are like when the camera's working at its best was maybe when mom and dad sort of realized like, whoa, we fucked up here. Let's go find our kids. And Ethan and Patience sort of trap him in the hall, and we get these like kind of low, very wide, distorting shots, and it's just these like directly on the 180 line, just looking forward and backwards at the two pairs of people. I thought that was a great scene, and the camera was working very well in that moment,
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't want to get mixed up like in saying like I had a bad time watching this movie by a lot of the camera and editing and music choices, because again, some of them are bizarre and some of them really don't work. But I will say, like, overall, I definitely appreciate people taking risks. I appreciate the experimentation. I don't think we see that enough in films. I think the difference of this, it's kind of a low stakes game in terms of being like, it's a made for TV, essentially, horror film that's playing in this anthology series, so we can have fun and we can play around with stuff and get to do different things before, we're under the constraints of big producers in a big budget situation. So it's cool to get to see those guys get to play with that stuff and hopefully take what works moving forward to because a ton of them are rooted in horror, and take them to their other projects. So I don't want to like be like dismissive and be like, this movie sucks because of this, but I think that is a good point of contention of like where it's like maybe falls a bit flat in terms of being a better film.
I mean, I think a movie like this will have some sort of like lasting effect on the genre overall, and just the work of a lot of these, cinematographer and editors. They're going to come back to this movie as reference for ways of shooting certain moments in future projects, perhaps.
I would hope so, because again, when it works, it really works. It's just like a disappointment that it doesn't work all of the time. But I do understand, again, where that playing around piece comes into play with, again, something that I would not call a high stakes project necessarily.
For sure. You know what may have been the most successful part of this movie? And this is maybe like, people are either going to totally agree or totally disagree. Think I'm being an asshole. The opening and closing title sequences. The credit sequences were so good.
How have we not gotten into that? Sorry. Yes.
So good.
Yes. I fully, because it reminded me of, I don't know if you ever saw it back in the day, but Trick or Treat had a trailer cut, and its opening was this kind of old school footage of being like, these are the rules Bobby has to follow on Halloween. Like, it was this really, but it came from, clearly it sounded at least like a real, like, actual thing that people would have put out maybe in like the 50s or 60s. And they use a lot of that in this. And obviously I couldn't help but be like, okay, Douglas Pipes is in Trick or Treat. This is that. I don't know if any of these things correlate or what the deal is, but I love the opening. I am so in the ending too, like, so about that. I'm so happy you brought it up. I actually completely forgot to even mention it.
Yeah, more please. And what was interesting about the ending was they even are, breaking the fourth wall, if you will, and showing some of the behind the scenes.
I liked it. It was cute.
It's like there was enough like humor and comedy in the movie where it's like all of a sudden you're just like, okay, this is a fun film. They're like, really, we're experimenting. And then it's just very obvious, like, hey, here's us on set just having a great time making this movie.
Seemed like they did too. Really seems like they did.
Oh yeah, totally. Like, there's no way this was not a fun movie to make.
I love that you brought that up. Yeah, because I think sometimes, like, I think actually Scream is my favorite example of this. When we hit the credits for Scream, here's my issue is I feel like there's such a tone to the end of Scream, and then it's always cut next to some weird of its time song that like actually like never seems to sustain itself like through time. Like, it feels very dated, whatever the song they use is. Even in this last one, I was like, that sounds like a song from the early 2000s. It was such a weird, like, jump from what we just witnessed to this scene where, like, I actually felt for some reason, maybe because the movie is so experimental, that, like, when they cut to these and we're getting these kind of bloopery credits, I was like, yeah, okay, I'm into this. Like, where usually it would be an issue for me in tone. It would be an issue.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I was not
just
bothered.
Let that, like, linger with us and let it sink in before we saw that crap. But it totally flowed perfectly.
It did, because it just set itself up to be like, well, we're just going to do whatever the hell we want to do, and you're on the ride, and you're just going to have to accept it or be mad about it. It's kind of how it was.
Yeah, fuck it. At this point, fuck it. It's our film.
Oh my God. It's like, it's a lot of fun though. Again, like, it's just fun. It's easy. And I absolutely love the fact that this was an hour and 20 minutes because right now, and here's the thing, like, if we have a movie like Hereditary, I get spending the time, or Midsommar, spending the time and the space with developing these characters in a very big way. This isn't that movie. It's not, and it knows it's not. And I so appreciate that they know that, and they're like, yeah, we'll pump out an hour, 20-minute movie. Not every character has to have this huge backstory. Like the boyfriend and his mom, they get very little to do, to be honest. Yeah. Like almost to the point that they don't feel totally necessary except to drive people in different directions. Mm-hmm. But like, I love that we're getting more movies that are like, we're just having a good time. It's weird. I love both of them. Give me a movie that's 2 hours and it's horror and it's a lot of character driven stuff. Also, give me this crap that's an hour and 20 minutes and just a good time for the ride. I'm down for both, and I like that we're kind of getting a little bit more of both of those coming in the last couple years.
Yes, yeah, can't agree more. Stylistically, I am kind of equating this movie to Weird Al's Amish Paradise song. Right? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Once or twice, living in Amish Paradise.
Oh, God, can we talk about that scene? Her turning that butter with it being all red, or I don't know what she was turning, to be honest, because I'm like, girl, I hope that's not butter. I don't know what's going on in there.
It was not butter, yo.
I don't know what was there. I like that sound design was good for that one.
So great. Yeah, just driving, just relentless.
Yeah.
And just that stone face, just like hate my life masochist shit going on, like was
I
so
am
fantastic.
Holier than out. Yeah, it's
yes.
Oh my God, I love that you said that. And I also like that they touch on, though they don't spend the whole movie on it because I feel like it could get kind of ridiculous if we did, that at least like Cody brings up like, yeah, this holiday is absolute bullshit and we all know it. And the idea that we're bringing pilgrims in who are like, and the Native Americans, they showed us how to do blah, blah, blah. And we feasted together and we're like, people, that's not, also like not how any of that went down. But so glad that I love that she's like, so glad we're perpetuating that stereotype and that problem. So I like that they infuse like the current, like, accurate ideology of being like, this holiday is absolute bullshit and we all know it, but like without it feeling forced. It's a line that feels very natural to her character and feels very like appropriate.
Yeah, 100%. It could have been a lot more pandering, you know?
Yes.
One of the like critiques I read online that was hysterical was like, this is like the biggest like okay boomer like statement of like okay, you stupid fucking boomer, like no, this is not how this shit went. Like
all we did was take their land and give them STDs. Like, let's be honest about it, and enslave people. But you know. Yeah.
Stop forcing your fucking ideologies on me. Like, this is, we live in reality here.
So I like that it's in there, but like you said, it's not pandering or doesn't feel forced in any way, and it's not like a plot device that carries all the way through. Like, she makes it very clear, like, this is my contempt for you and why, and you're like, yeah, girl, get it. Like, very accurate to, that's legit.
Yeah, and, I thought it was also thematically a great critique on the holiday, right? Just like,
yes,
here we are, like, supposed to be thankful for the things we have, for, it's Thanksgiving, that's the idea of it, like, spend time with family and unite, but it's been bastardized into like this, overindulgence, like
consumerism show,
and, exactly, this show to like show that you're better and more put together, and so it is a fun critique. So the movie really does kind of have like all of the elements, right? Just some of them aren't always built up as fully as they should, and some of them are just smacked in there for fun and games, I guess, and So, I mean, overall, where you kind of landed here?
I think we said it throughout. Like, it's just fun. It's easy. If you're wanting to see something where people are taking some risks with, again, the camera editing, it's solid acting performances. I don't think, like we've said it, like, it doesn't always hit. So it's not one of those movies that you're oh God, you've got to watch this. It's incredible. But it's a good time, and holiday horror is so limited in some ways, and so it's really nice to have these options out there and not be stuck with the same two movies. So I super appreciate that people are taking the time to incorporate those ideas. I know for me, every holiday that comes up, I'm always searching for what horror movies I can find to go with it. So I really appreciate that. Again, performance is very solid. Effects are very solid. I love the music, but I'm a big sucker for Trick or Treat, so that shouldn't be a huge surprise then, obviously, that I was into this. But yeah, it has its limitations, and I think we're fully acknowledging that there's quite a bit of them. But if you can overlook that and just have a good time and not be hypercritical of it, I think you'll really enjoy it. If you're somebody who struggles with that jarring kind of there's different cinematography going on, this might not be the movie for you. If you're somebody who's uncomfortable with, like you said, kind of those, I didn't even really think about it, to be honest, but you're right, those kind of torture scenes, it might be a little too intense if you're on the lighter side of horror. I think if you're a horror person, this isn't really going to phase you in any way, but yeah, I like it. I think it's a fun time. What's your wrap up thoughts on that?
I think it's a movie that I'm going to return to several times, more for like scene studies.
Yeah,
and
cool.
Kind of learning from like a technical aspect of things. You know, that was one question I actually had that I didn't get an answer to online is I wanted to know what camera was used, what lenses were used. And,
oh my God, I have no clue on that.
I couldn't figure that out. My assumption is that's like an Arri, you know, and I don't know if they were on Cook lenses or not, but because it's definitely shot digitally. We're getting probably in 8K, getting those like digital zooms at times. So it was you know, kind of fun. And then of course the like Arri color science I think was kind of like playing on screen. So it was pretty cool to see, but I'd still like an answer to that. And then just learning from some of the style choices. You know, outside of that, I don't know if I will return to the movie. I can say for certain my wife will not return to this movie.
So sorry. I misjudged that.
I will recommend to a lot of people. So just as a fun experience.
Oh, 100%. Like I said, pair this with something so stupidly weird like Blood Rage, and you're going to be having a fun holiday. Yeah, and I think, I mean, are we good to announce our next?
Always. Let's go.
Okay, so our next one coming up, we're going to be getting into the holiday spirit of Christmas soon, but before we get into that, we are going to cover a new release. So we are going to cover Smile 2022. I'm sure if you've not seen the movie, you've at least seen the marketing at minimum of the big creepy smiles.
Which I was skeptical at first, but after watching a couple more trailers, I'm starting to get bought in. I'm looking forward to watching this.
Yeah, and I'm having fun. As at this point of recording, I'm quite close to the end, and I've had a good time watching it. So I got to see if it pays out. But yeah, we hope again. Oh boy, we should probably say this first before we sign off. But if you guys have recommendations, we do have, we've got some upcoming in our January and February slot that we already have on the docket, but we have plenty of room for more. So if you guys do have any recommendations, please check out our socials. Pod Under Your Bed. We're on Gmail you can send us to. You can give us a DM over Instagram. I think we said it last time. We're not so confident about Twitter yet. We're just going to kind of have to see how that one plays out. But we are definitely accessible and willing to take recommendations for drinks or for movies. We love if you've got drink recipes, we'd be super grateful to get.
Please and thank you.
Get some help there. But yeah, we hope you guys have an awesome giving. Hopefully it's filled with the horror that you want in your life and not the horror of family politics or any of these awful, uncomfortable things. So our fingers crossed for all of you on your Thanksgiving meal.
Happy Thanksgiving. Watch out for the cranberry sauce, y'all. Careful.
Yeah, it's not cranberry sauce. Bye, guys. Have a good holiday.